The American Gothic House was built in 1881 by Catherine and Charles Dibble, but they only owned the house for a couple of years because they lost it due to taxes. After they lost the house, a gentleman owned it for a short time and tried to have a candy shop in the front room, but that didn't work out very well either. And then the house was purchased by the Jones family, Mary Hart and Gideon Jones. And they were the owners of the house when Grant Wood saw it. Grant Wood came to town in 1930 to be in an art exhibit. And while he was here, he met up with a local artist that he knew named John Sharp, and John offered to give him a tour of the town. So they were driving around Eldon, and they just happened to drive past this house. And as soon as Grant Wood saw it, it really struck a chord with him. He thought it had a very fancy window for such a small little house. That's kind of the first thing that drew him in. He said one time that he thought the window was pretentious for such a humble little house. And so he sketched out this house while he was here, and then went back to Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and asked his sister and his dentist to pose for the painting. So they didn't pose in front of this house. He sketched them separately and then put it all together before he did the painting. So the house was built in 1881, but it actually remained privately owned until 1991 when it was donated to the State Historical Society by Carl Smith. And the house was also put on the Historic Registry in 1974, which was a big deal and was very exciting in town. Nan Wood Graham, who's the woman in the painting, Grant Wood's sister, actually came to town for the dedication in 1974. This is the front room of the house. If you look out the window, that's where everyone gets their pictures taken. So if you're in the front room, you can always look out and see people all day and night getting their pictures taken of the house that was added in the 20s with the kitchen. And since it was always since it was still privately owned until 1991, it was kept pretty modern, amenities, electricity, sinks, what have you. So the upstairs, you have to get through this small closet staircase, which is pretty narrow and pretty short. So a lot of people ask why we don't do a lot of tours of the house, and one reason would be that it's pretty hard to get up and around the house. It's pretty small. So the house, everyone knows about the Gothic window on the front of the house, but there's actually a second Gothic window on the back side of the house here. And it's pretty neat because it hinges down and then it can open all the way this way. And that's one way that you can get larger furniture upstairs, by hoisting it up through the window, since the staircase is so narrow. Here is the front window that everyone knows of, the Gothic window. And a lot of people ask about why the curtain that's in the painting isn't the actual curtain that's in the window. And that's because Grant Wood made up that curtain himself. It never existed. So the curtain that's in the window was made to look kind of like the one in the painting, as close to what they could sew. So a lot of people always want to know about that. And if you are the renter of the house, one of the requirements of living here is keeping the lace curtains in the window. So that way it's there for everyone's photo op in front of the house. The Iowa State Historical Society owns the house, and they do have a renter in it, so it is a private residence. And since it's so small and so precarious to get around in, it's never been open for tours. And that's why the museum exists next door. So that way people can learn about the house and still get their pictures taken in front of the house.